Got it.
Hey fans, Brian from TrainNut Productions here. It is Saturday, July 26th. We're nearing the end of July, coming in August. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are well aware of what's been happening in the world of railroads. With the news that's been announced in the early part of this week, along with some sad things that have happened, but we're going to kind of leave that out. Now, today's topic, and I'm really hoping some people comment on this, because I'm always looking, see what else everybody else's opinion is. Ignore the noise in the back. My camera person's making noises. So, anyways, Union Pacific, Norfolk Southern, two railroads that I like an awful lot, that I've rail fan both, are in talks for a merger. Didn't we just have a merger that just happened 2 years ago? And it was between two railroads I actually liked. Well, of course now the acronym is a little funny. Don't care for it. So they made this announcement in the early part of the week. And I'm sitting there thinking, this goes back 20-something years ago when two big railroads wanted to merge, and they basically were told no. Now, rewind the track for any of you that were still alive, or you can even search it up on the internet, type in Google this. Some of you remember the proposed BNSF-CN merger that they were planning on. Now, mind you, this was 10 or so years, whatever the date was, that BNSF had merged in 1995 with the merger with Burlington Northern and the Santa Fe. Okay, we had that in 1995, then we had the Conrail split in 99, where NS and CSX basically carved up Conrail and got what they wanted out of it. Okay. Then you fast forward another 2 years to where Canadian National bought out some of the railroads, including one of them that was my favorite. And now here it is that merger talk is in again. Now, mergers have been a thing for just about over 100 years. It has been going on since, turn of the century 1900, where railroads were deciding to gobble everything up, merge, whatever you want to name it, to basically increase the competition as far as the industry goes. Now, needless to say, in the past 50 or so years, it had been in decline, and the railroads had to basically reinvent themselves and how to compete. And of course, we can't forget that ugly merger that had taken place in 1968, even though I do like the name. But if anybody has ever had the chance to read a book called The Wreck of the Penn Central, that would state that sometimes mergers just don't work. After reading that and saying, no, I don't like mergers, I like individual companies being around, because they say, I've rail fanned all these railroads. You guys seen the videos. I like Norfolk Southern has to be, just about my top favorite Class 1. Has been since 1999, and just make it short is simply because of a tragic event that happened in my life. And I was introduced to a place called Marion, Ohio, which is still my favorite. But coming upon and stopping in Marion, Ohio in 1999, and mind you, this is late July, so here it is, 26 years later, sitting there having to think about it. So 26 years ago, I was introduced to a railroad that was in black and white. And it wasn't just a plain black and white like Penn Central was. This one just boasted a paint scheme that just stuck out to me. Like, oh, this is cool, But here it is, Fast forward 26 years later, and now they're and now Norfolk Southern and Union Pacific are talking this idea of a merger. I've been keeping up with things on Facebook, just for giggles. And people are like, oh, this is a cool idea and all this. I got sitting there thinking on this, and this is why I want people to comment. They may think this is a good idea, but has any of these companies appealed to their employees? Now, why I say that, I have friends that work for Norfolk Southern, very good friends of mine that I hear every once in a while. Some of them still tune into my videos, if they do, if they don't, okay, I can understand their busy lifestyle. But have any of these companies came to these guys saying, hey, how do you feel about this? That has been the thing that I've been wondering about this whole week is, okay, they want to sit there and appeal to the customers, but what about the employees, okay? What does that change for them? What does that affect for them? Are they going to stay in the same place? Are they going to make the same amount of money, okay? And a lot of these guys have to pay a so-and-so subscription to, their union that they're part of in order to work for these companies. So, going back to where we stand on the questions, like, okay, how do these employees feel about this? Okay, we're not going to appeal to the CEOs who are thinking, oh yeah, this is a great idea, we're going to rack up the competition now, okay? Let's forget that. Let's scratch that off the board. The main question is okay, have they appealed to the employees? Has any of the CEOs, bigwigs, whatever, decided, oh, well, while we're thinking about this merger, let's go to the employees and see what about this, and these are guys that work in the locomotive shop as mechanics, electricians, you name it. The car shop guys. The guys that work maintenance, on the lines and all, okay? The guys that, the signal maintainers, the locomotive engineers, the conductors, every guy that is out there in the elements trying to keep these railroads going. And say, hey, well, how do you feel about this? Okay, that has been a big question. And so far, I have seen a couple, and I'm not quoting names, just for the sake of it, but I've seen a couple saying, no, this is not a good idea. These companies need to appeal to their employees and, get their opinion. Have like a town hall meeting. Gathering it, go to these places, have a town hall meeting before you finalize things and say, hey, how do you feel about this? Did they ever listen to their employees? No, that has been the bigger question. Personally, in my opinion, I don't care for mergers, okay? I really don't. And now they're in squabbles of talks, and it's gonna come to the fact that, okay, pretty soon, a lot more of these names are going to start disappearing and all. These names we've been used to for so long. Norfolk Southern came around 3 years before I was even born, and Union Pacific has been around since the 1860s. Try looking up the Golden Spike ceremony at Promontory Point. That's where it started. When they built from the east at Omaha, Nebraska to meet the Central Pacific. And laying in that golden spike and pounding in there, okay? That's what started it. But now you got these companies, and I always get a throw saying, hey, you go out to Norfolk Southern, hey, there's a Union Pacific, on a train, that's taking the Norfolk Southern train somewhere. It's always nice to see, pull power as the term have been used for, 50 or so years. So now comes the question is, okay, is it a good idea? I'm going to let you guys be the judge of that. Because if they approve this merger, we're going to, next year we're going to see a domino effect. That's my personal opinion. And I always like having a variety of things. I really do. I always like going out there and catching a variety of things. That's why I love doing these videos. I've been doing it for the longest, about, you might as well say I've been sticking in it, for just, almost 20 years since this channel was first created. So since 2007, I've been trying to get these videos out. And over time, I've been improving, and I've been getting up there saving and purchasing equipment to make this happen, all for you guys. Because, hey, just like every other YouTuber, I like to upload content and provide the entertainment, because you have little kids watching these videos, and they say, I met kids that, hey, I go on YouTube and watch trains and all, and, just for a smile, I say, well, I do have a channel of my own, and introduce them to it. Just to give them something to watch. So, but with these mergers, it's going to be coming to questions like, what's the catch out there? Now there's just one railroad that, no, it's not two, it's just one railroad that, gee, what do I do? But, getting back to that, is there anybody that is an employee of these companies, post a comment on your opinion on this. Guys, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this, and hope you're all doing well, keeping hydrated out there. It has been warm out there, and trust me, I've been feeling it every week that I've been working, and I'm still trying to plan on some more videos. It may be a while. More likely it'll be this fall until I get to plan something. I'm waiting for these temperatures to kind of ease off, because it is hard to rail fan when it's blazing hot that you can cook an egg on a car hood. So guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this. I hope you're all doing well. See you at the next rail fan spot.